The rain hit the concrete like bullets, fast, cold, relentless. Sang-hoon Park stood at the window of his penthouse, whiskey in hand, watching the city lights blur through the water streaming down the glass. Los Angeles at night looked clean from up here. Beautiful, even. He knew better. His phone buzzed. Min-jun's name appeared on the screen. "What is it?" "Boss, there's a situation at the Highland property." Sang-hoon didn't respond immediately. Min-jun didn't call about situations. He handled them. "2 kids," Min-jun continued. "Someone left them at the service entrance. They've been there for 20 minutes. Security doesn't know what to do. Call the police. There's a note. It has your name on it." Sang-hoon set down his glass. He looked at his reflection in the window. A man who'd spent 15 years building walls so high that nothing got through. Not sentiment, not weakness, not children standing in the rain. "I'll be there in 10 minutes. He ended the call and grabbed his coat. Outside, the rain had turned vicious. The service entrance smelled like wet cardboard and motor oil. 2 small figures sat on a metal bench beneath a flickering light. The older girl had her arm around the younger one, who was crying quietly into her shoulder. Both wore jackets too thin for the weather. Their sneakers were soaked through. Min-jun stood a few feet away, hands in his pockets, looking uncomfortable in a way Sang-hoon had never seen before. "Boss!" Sang-hoon walked past him and stopped in front of the girls. The older one looked up. Her eyes were red, but her jaw was set, defensive. She pulled her sister closer. "You're him," she said. "Not a question." "I am. Mama said you'd help us." Her voice cracked on the word mama. She swallowed hard, forcing the tears back. Sang-hoon crouched down, putting himself at eye level. The younger girl peeked out from behind her sister's arm. Her face was round, streaked with tears. "What's your name?" "Hope." "This is Lena." "Where's your mother, Hope?" The girl's composure finally broke. She pressed her lips together, shaking her head. After a moment, she pulled a crumpled envelope from her jacket pocket and held it out. The paper was damp. The handwriting was shaky, like someone had written it while their hand trembled. Sang-hoon recognized the name at the top, Shanice Williams. It took him a moment to place it. Then it came back. A woman who'd worked at one of the clubs his organization protected 5 years ago. There'd been trouble. Someone wanted her involved in something she refused to do. He'd given the order to leave her alone, let her walk away clean. He'd forgotten about it the next day. The letter was short. "Mr. Park, I worked for you once. You didn't know me, but you saved my life. Now I'm dying, and I have nobody. No family. No money. The system will split my girls up. Hope and Lena deserve better. I know what you are, I know what you do, but I also know you're a man who keeps his word. Please keep this one." Shanice Sang-hoon folded the letter and stood. Min-jun was watching him, waiting. "Take them inside," Sang-hoon said quietly. "Get them dry. Food. Blankets." "And then?" Sang-hoon looked at the girls. Hope was staring at him with an expression that made his chest tighten, a mix of fear and desperate, fragile trust. "We'll figure it out." Inside, Min-jun pulled him aside. "Boss, think about this. You take them in, even temporarily, people will talk. They'll see it as weakness. Choi's crew is already testing boundaries. This could... I didn't ask for your opinion on strategy. You should, because if you do this, everything changes, your schedule, your security, your leverage." Min-jun lowered his voice. "Children make you vulnerable." "I know. And you're doing it anyway?" Sang-hoon looked through the doorway at the 2 girls sitting on his leather couch, small and terrified and completely out of place. "Yes." The penthouse wasn't built for children. Everything was glass, steel, sharp edges. Sang-hoon watched Hope guide Lena carefully around the furniture, whispering instructions. They moved like they'd spent their whole lives being careful not to break things. Min-jun had brought clothes, sweatpants and hoodies that were too big. Lena's sleeves hung past her hands. She kept her arms wrapped around a stuffed elephant that looked like it had been through a war. "Are you hungry?" Sang-hoon asked. Lena nodded, but didn't speak. Hope answered for both of them. "Yes, sir. You don't have to call me that. Mama said we should be respectful." Sang-hoon went to the kitchen and stared at the contents of his refrigerator. Bottled water, take-out containers from 3 days ago, a bottle of soju, nothing a child would eat. He ordered food. When it arrived, the girls ate slowly, politely, like they were afraid of asking for too much. Lena fell asleep on the couch halfway through her meal, still holding the elephant. Hope stayed awake, watching him. "You can sleep," Sang-hoon said. "You're safe here. Are you sending us away tomorrow?" "No." People say that, and then they do it anyway. Sang-hoon didn't know how to respond to that. He thought about the letter, about promises. He thought about the woman who'd trusted him with the only thing that mattered to her. "I don't lie to children," he said finally. Hope studied his face for a long time. Then she nodded and curled up next to her sister. The next morning brought the first real problem. Sang-hoon's lawyer, Patricia Chen, arrived with a stack of documents and a grim expression. "You understand what you're asking for is nearly impossible," she said, spreading papers across his dining table while the girls ate cereal in the kitchen. "You're a single man with no prior childcare experience. Your profession, even the legal fronts, will raise red flags. And the girls are wards of the state now. Their mother is deceased as of yesterday morning." Sang-hoon's jaw tightened. Hope didn't know yet. He'd have to tell her. What are the options? Foster care. They'll likely be separated. There aren't many homes that take siblings, especially not two at once, or... Patricia paused. "You could pursue emergency guardianship, but you'd need to prove immediate harm would come to them otherwise, and you'd have to open your life to scrutiny. Background checks, home visits, financial audits. Do it. Sang-hoon, they will investigate everything. Your business, your associates, your past. Are you prepared for that?" He thought about the empire he'd built in the shadows, the careful distance he maintained from anything that could be traced back to him. Opening that door meant risk, not just to him, but to everyone in his organization. "Yes." Patricia gathered her papers. "Then we start tomorrow. But I'm warning you, this will get ugly. And if Child Protective Services decides you're unfit, they won't just take the girls away. They'll make sure you never get near them again." After she left, Sang-hoon found Hope standing in the hallway. Her face told him she'd heard everything. "Mama's dead." "Yes." "When?" "Yesterday." Hope's face crumpled, but only for a second. Then she straightened, wiping her eyes roughly. "Does Lena know?" "Not yet. I'll tell her. She should hear it from me." Hope looked at him with those ancient, 8-year-old eyes. "Are you really going to fight for us? Even though it's going to be hard?" "Yes." "Why?" Sang-hoon crouched down to her level. "Because your mother asked me to, and because you deserve someone who fights." The social worker arrived on a Tuesday. Margaret Okonkwo was a tired-looking woman in her 50s, with sharp eyes that missed nothing. She walked through the penthouse taking notes, asking questions Sang-hoon had prepared for, but hated answering. "Where will the children sleep?" "I've set up the 2 guest rooms. They wanted to stay together, so we put both beds in one room." "And their schooling?" "They're enrolled at Franklin Elementary. Start date is next Monday." Margaret knelt down to talk to Hope and Lena. "Do you like it here?" Hope glanced at Sang-hoon, then back at Margaret. "It's okay. Just okay. It's better than some places we've been." Margaret's pen stilled. "What places?" Hope's face closed off. "Before. With Mama. When she was sick. The interview lasted 2 hours." When Margaret finally left, Sang-hoon felt exhausted in a way that had nothing to do with physical tiredness. "How'd I do?" Hope asked once they were alone. "What do you mean?" "I didn't tell her about the bad stuff. The times Mama couldn't get out of bed. When we didn't have food, I figured it wouldn't help." Sang-hoon looked at this small girl who'd already learned to calculate the cost of honesty. "You did fine. But Hope, you don't have to protect me, or your mother's memory. If there are things you need to talk about, I know, but not with her. She's deciding if we get to stay." She was right. And that calculation, that survival instinct, made his chest ache. 3 days later, Min-jun came to him with news that made the custody battle seem simple by comparison. "We have a problem. Jin-woo is making moves." Jin-woo Lee ran a rival faction, smaller than Sang-hoon's operation, but ambitious, dangerous. "What kind of moves?" "He hit 2 of our distribution points last week, took product, left messages. He's testing you. Then we respond." "That's the problem, boss. He knows about the girls. He's telling people you've gone soft, that you're distracted. Some of our own people are starting to wonder if he's right." Sang-hoon stared out the window at the city below. This was the consequence Patricia had warned about. This was what Min-jun had meant when he said children made you vulnerable. "Set up a meeting. With Jin-woo, neutral ground." "You sure that's smart? He might be looking for exactly that." "I'm sure." The meeting took place in a private room at a restaurant in Koreatown. Jin-woo arrived with 3 men. Sang-hoon brought only Min-jun. Jin-woo was younger, cocky, wearing an expensive suit that didn't quite fit his personality. He smiled when Sang-hoon entered. "The great Sang-hoon Park. I was starting to think you'd retired." Sang-hoon sat down. "You've been stepping on my territory." "Have I? I thought maybe you weren't paying attention anymore. Heard you picked up some new responsibilities. Babysitting, is it?" Min-jun tensed, but Sang-hoon raised a hand slightly. "You think children make me weak, don't they?" You used to be untouchable, now you're playing house. Jinwoo leaned forward. Here's my offer. Walk away from 3 of your territories. I'll leave you alone to play daddy. Sang-hoon was quiet for a long moment. Then he spoke, his voice soft but carrying a weight that made Jinwoo's smile falter. You're right about one thing. I have changed. I have responsibilities now that matter more than territory or respect or fear. He stood up slowly, but that doesn't make me weak. It makes me more dangerous, because now I have something worth protecting, and a man with something to lose doesn't hesitate. He doesn't negotiate. He eliminates threats completely. He placed both hands on the table, leaning in. You have 24 hours to return what you took and get out of my territories. If you don't, I won't come for your business. I'll come for everything. Your family, your reputation, every single thing you've built. And I'll do it while still making it home for bedtime. Jinwoo's face had gone pale. That's not, you can't. 24 hours. Sang-hoon walked out. Min-jun followed, grinning. That was cold, boss. It needed to be. You meant it? All of it? Sang-hoon thought about Hope and Lena sleeping in his apartment, trusting him to keep them safe. Every word. Jinwoo returned everything within 12 hours and disappeared from Los Angeles entirely. Word spread fast. Sang-hoon Park wasn't weak. He was more focused than ever. But the victory felt hollow when he came home at 4 a.m. and found Hope sitting in the dark living room, waiting. You said you'd be home by midnight. Something came up. It always does. She stood up, her small frame rigid with anger. Ms. Okonkwo came by today. She asked where you were. I lied. I said you were at a business meeting. Hope? I'm tired of lying for adults. Mama made me lie about how bad things were. Now I'm lying about where you are and what you do. Her voice cracked. I know what you are. I'm not stupid. And I'm scared that one day you're not going to come home and Lena and I will be alone again. The words hit harder than any threat Jinwoo could have made. You're right. Hope blinked. What? You're right. I can't ask you to lie for me, and I can't keep doing this, running an empire and raising you at the same time. Not like this. So what are you going to do? Sang-hoon sat down heavily on the couch. For 15 years, he'd built something powerful. But sitting in front of him was an 8-year-old girl who'd already been failed by too many adults. I'm going to change. Really change. The next morning, he called a meeting with his inner circle. 6 men who'd been with him for years. Min-jun sat at his right hand. I'm restructuring, Sang-hoon said. Effective immediately. I'm stepping back from day-to-day operations. Min-jun takes over as operational head. I'll handle strategy and major decisions, but I won't be in the field. I won't take meetings that run past 10 p.m. I won't be unreachable. The silence was heavy. Park Jae-sung, his oldest lieutenant, spoke first. You're doing this for 2 kids you've known for 3 weeks? Yes. They're not your blood. That doesn't matter. It does. In our world, family is everything. Blood is everything. Sang-hoon met his eyes. Then maybe our world needs to change, because those girls are my family now, and anyone who has a problem with that can leave. No one moved. I mean it, Sang-hoon continued. This organization has always been about loyalty. I'm asking for that loyalty now. Not to me as your boss. To me as a man trying to do something good for once in his life. Min-jun spoke up. Anyone who walks out that door doesn't come back. Make your choice now. No one left. Jae-sung stood slowly, then bowed, a sign of respect. I have grandchildren I barely see because of this life. If you can find a way to do both, I'll support you. One by one, the others nodded. 6 months later, Sang-hoon sat in a family court hearing room, wearing his best suit. Hope and Lena sat with a victim advocate in the hallway. Patricia Chen stood beside him, a stack of documents in front of her. Margaret Okonkwo testified first. She described her visits to the home, the girls' progress in school, the stability they'd found. But I have concerns, she added. Mr. Park's profession is unclear. He has significant wealth, but the sources are difficult to trace, and his past includes associations with known criminals. The judge, a stern woman named Barbara Huang, looked at Sang-hoon. Mr. Park, would you like to address these concerns? He stood. Yes, Your Honor. I won't insult this court by pretending my past is clean. It's not. I've made choices I'm not proud of, but 6 months ago, 2 little girls showed up at my door because their mother believed I was capable of being better than my worst decisions. He pulled out a folder of his own. These are letters from the girls' teachers, from their doctor, from their therapist. All of them say the same thing. Hope and Lena are thriving. They feel safe. They're healing. Judge Huang read through the letters slowly. I've also restructured my business affairs. Sang-hoon continued. I've stepped back from anything questionable. I've made myself available. I show up. I keep my promises, because that's what being a father means. And if I grant this adoption, the judge said, what happens when your past catches up to you? What happens to these children if you're arrested or killed? The question hung in the air. Sang-hoon had asked himself the same thing 100 times. I've set up trusts, legal guardianship agreements with people I trust. I've made sure that if something happens to me, Hope and Lena will be together and cared for. But Your Honor, he paused, I spent 15 years trying to be untouchable, invulnerable. It didn't make me strong, it made me empty. These girls taught me that real strength is showing up every day, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. Judge Huang was quiet for a long moment. Then she looked past him to where Hope and Lena were visible through the doorway. Hope was holding Lena's hand, both of them watching through the glass. I'm going to grant the adoption, she said finally. But Mr. Park, understand this. I will be watching. If there is any indication that these children are in danger because of your choices, I will reverse this decision. Do you understand? Yes, Your Honor. Then, congratulations. You're officially a father. That evening, Sang-hoon received a call from an old associate, a lucrative deal, the kind that would have been automatic before. It's low risk, the man said. High reward, just like old times. Sang-hoon looked across the room at Hope and Lena, who were arguing about what movie to watch. Lena's elephant sat on the couch between them. No. Sang-hoon, this is... I'm out. Completely. I meant what I said 6 months ago. I'm done. He hung up. Min-jun, who was visiting for dinner, raised an eyebrow. That was Kim. He's not going to be happy. I don't care. You really are out. I am. Min-jun smiled. Good. You're better at this anyway. At what? Being human. Hope looked over from the couch. We decided on a movie, but Lena says you have to make popcorn. I do. Yeah, Lena added, actually speaking directly to him now. Because you're the dad, that's what dads do. Sang-hoon looked at these two girls who'd somehow become his entire world, the most powerful man in LA's Korean underworld, completely defeated by a 6-year-old's logic. Okay, I'll make popcorn. As he stood in the kitchen, listening to the girls laugh at something on TV, he realized he'd made hundreds of important decisions in his life. Business deals, territory disputes, life and death calls. But the most important decision he'd ever made was answering a phone call on a rainy night and choosing to show up. Everything else had followed from that. 1 year after the adoption, Sang-hoon stood in the kitchen of a house he'd bought in the suburbs. Not a penthouse, not a fortress, just a house with a backyard and a swing set that Min-jun had helped him install. Hope was in the living room, helping Lena with homework. The elephant sat on the couch, still present but less desperately clutched now. His phone rang. A business call. He ignored it. Dad, Lena called. She'd started calling him that 3 months ago. It still made his chest tight every time. Hope says I have to do all my math problems, but I'm tired. Hope's right. But Dad, no buts. Finish your homework, then you can play. Lena groaned dramatically but went back to her worksheet. Hope caught his eye and smiled. A real smile, unguarded. Thanks, she mouthed. He nodded. Later, after dinner and homework and bedtime stories, Sang-hoon sat on the back porch. Min-jun had sent a text. Jin-woo tried to come back. We handled it. You were right. The organization is stronger with you as the foundation, not the front line. Sang-hoon deleted the message. That world still existed. It always would. But he'd found a way to step back from it without abandoning the people who'd been loyal to him. The back door opened. Hope came out wrapped in a blanket. Can't sleep? Just thinking. About what? About how different things are now. She sat down next to him. A year ago, I didn't think we'd make it. I thought you'd give up on us. I almost did. Not because I wanted to, but because I didn't know how to do this. But you learned. We all did. Hope was quiet for a moment. Mama would be happy. That we're safe. That we're together. I think she would be. Do you miss your old life? The one before us? Sang-hoon thought about the question, about the power and the fear and the emptiness that had filled his days. No, he said honestly. I don't. Good. Because we're not going anywhere. She went back inside. Through the window, he could see her checking on Lena, pulling the blanket up to her sister's chin, the same way she'd done in a service entrance on a rainy night a year ago. Sang-hoon Park had built an empire. He'd commanded respect and fear. He'd been untouchable. But sitting on the porch of a suburban house, listening to his daughters breathe safely in their beds, he realized he'd finally found something worth more than all of it. He'd found home.